Hello everyone, this is Persephone. If you support my new channel, Psychobomb, I want you to know that I really appreciate you, and this is a very important project for me. If you have been following me from Revenge Star, you know that a year ago, it's the 1 year anniversary of my near-death experience, and I'm trying to do things here, hoping that they can help even one person. So this is not petty drama, this is just my thoughts. I'm not a mental health professional. The aim of this channel is to start a discussion and make people think critically, if I can. Some videos are going to be about AI, some are going to be loosely connected to AI, and some are going to be a mountain of dirty laundry that I plan to air about specific people, because I have been told recently that these stories help other people feel less alone. So I'm not going to name anyone, their privacy is going to be protected, but I don't see why I should keep silent about their abuse. So today I want to talk about why, in my opinion, most people are awful and they won't help you escape abuse. And this is not something that is, I'm not doing it as a negative video. I'm going to have solutions towards what to do in the end. I just want to point out the collective gaslighting in society and the mechanism that I see now that exists to keep people who are abused stuck for forever practically, while everyone else is telling you that it's your fault for not getting out. And because this sounds like so generic and honestly stupid, I'm going to use myself as an example and things that I realized after a long time in research, hoping to help someone else who deals with narcissistic abuse. So when you are living with a narcissist, in my case, a narcissistic mother, things get progressively worse. If you don't know that, narcissists, as they age, they become more intolerable. In my case, my mother was a somatic narcissist. Honestly, she relied on her looks all of her life to get stuff done by men, because it was also, I'm going to be honest here, she's a person who is not hardworking and has exactly zero talents that I know of. So there comes this age for most women where they become invisible to men. And it's kind of shocking. Like, it doesn't happen at the specific age, like the incels say at 25, 35, 45. It's different for each person, but there comes a time where you walk into a room as a woman and you don't turn heads anymore, which is something that normal people grieve the passage of time and move on. But if you're a narcissist, you become furious and you have to take it out on other people. So I realize now that because when my mom was like, had me, she was a teen mom, she was under 20. I can't say her exact age for doxing reasons, but she was like awfully young. So when I was like 16 or 17, she was reaching that age where she didn't get the reactions from men that she wanted. And that had a lot to do with her gambling habits, alcohol. She was a functioning alcoholic, getting psychiatric drugs. And looking back, I think she was also addicted to a lot of stuff. Like in America, you'd have like Vicodin types of stuff, like oxycodone. I don't know exactly what she was taking, but she was also taking way more painkillers than what a normal person should take, and she didn't have any major injuries that justified taking this level of painkillers. So her behavior became progressively worse, and I started reaching out to other people for help because I was a minor. Like when that was happening, I didn't have the means to get out. So several things happened that I'm going to analyze here, because at that time I was devastated. I couldn't understand why the people were reacting like that, but now I know better. Thing number one, my father, the good Christian, outright refusal. Like, this doesn't happen, your mother is nice, she's a decent mother, gaslighting. Like, for a man that was deployed 1 year at a time away from home, it's a very bold statement to say she's a decent mother. Like, when was the last year you lived with her to know what is going on? But okay, supposedly he's the adult, I'm his child, he knows better. Every time I would bring up what she did, like she hit me, she stole my money, we had this extreme vegan diet that I'm going to talk about it in a different video. I'm going to show you one of my photos that I found that I look like a walking skeleton. And now I believe that having children, like being vegan by force, is child abuse, but this is a different video. Every time I would bring proof, he would take it out on me. He would say, you're so negative, you're vindictive, you're mentally ill, you don't let bygones be bygones, you're a bad Christian. He's the main reason that I stopped being a Christian, because Christianity was a great weapon to like use forgiveness to someone who has not repented, to invite them back into your life. So every time he would just gaslight me and deny it, and we would have fights because I'm still a person that there are hills that I'm willing to die on, metaphorically. So I would fight him every day, and he would ground me every day, and he would take my privilege, and he would hit me too, and I would still not back off. I would say she's horrible. And that happened up to the point that I left home at 17 because it was like insufferable. So he was doing that, I realize now, and my father isn't stupid. One of the reasons that many people are kind enough to call me smart is because I inherited that IQ from him. He was very, very well aware that he's an awful person. But here is the thing. Abusers don't go to therapy because abusing you is the therapy. Dr. Sam Vaknin, whose work I respect greatly, who is in my opinion the greatest psychologist of our time, said that abusing someone is an anxiolytic for narcissists. So my father knew what she was doing. Like, there were times where he even witnessed it or she tried to do it to him. But when you're a Christian and you have to keep the family together at all times because divorce is a sin, someone has to take one for the team. So he would say, well, that's how she is, but she's your mother and it's your cross to bear. I disagree with that. I don't think that it's anyone's responsibility to be abused on a daily basis so that the abuser feels better for a few hours, because your real problem is that in her eyes has become fat and irrelevant. And actually that's a very big karma, because my mother always fat shamed people. She was always like anorexic in her good years, like the pre-wall years, to speak like an incel. And now all of these people that's discriminated against, she talked trash about, she became one of them. So that was like really bad karma for her. Now you're going to say, okay, why didn't you talk to someone else? Every time I would try to talk to classmates or to friends or even to strangers, a lot of people have very bad parents. I read in another psychologist book that good marriages are maybe 5%, and that in those marriages who produce children, if you are a 7 out of 10 parent, the children come out awesome. You don't even have to be a 9 out of 10. If you're a 7 out of 10, you are going to have very healthy children. So most people are a 2 or a 3. There was this exclusive club where all of the other parents that we associated with were helicopter parents. So the kids also had awful parents. So if you try to talk to someone and say, my mom is awful, people are instinctively going to compare. That's human nature. So they're going to say, okay, she says that her mom is awful, but my mom is similar, so I've been lying to myself to survive. So she's trying to get me out of that survival mechanism. And that's awful. So people would say, well, that's how she is. There's nothing you can do about it. That's how parents are. They think they know best. And there was more gaslighting. So peers couldn't help me either. I went to therapy after I left home, to psychiatrists. Psychologists would just send me to psychiatrists, not because I think that psychologists are incompetent. I just think that my mother's case was too severe and the abuse was too much. And I consider it responsible to direct someone to a psychiatrist if you think that you can deal with their bullshit. So another thing that was happening is people recommending platitudes. This is one of the things that I plan to fight on this channel. Platitudes who don't work. Go to the park, go to nature, have a bubble bath, meditate. A bunch of stuff that in my experience after some point become completely useless. So I'm going to be hit and I'm going to have my money stolen from me because I was earning money from a ridiculously young age. I'm going to explain how in future videos. And then I'm going to come home and I'm going to have to deal with another like verbal abuse attack and another beating because how dare I leave the house? There are so many people that they don't understand that extreme problems need extreme solutions in many cases and hard solutions. Then they're going to say it's your fault because you didn't talk about it. Have you tried communicating your feelings? Have you talked about it? Have you talked about it again? Did you phrase it correctly? This is one of the biggest lies society tells people, that if you are in a bad place, if you're being attacked, it's because you did not communicate it. It's not your responsibility or mine to teach to some disordered loser basic empathy. They say that children start having a sense of justice and empathy at 2 years old normally. So do I really have to go to a grown-ass woman and say, hey, you telling me you're a fat, ugly nothing, a talentless nothing that no one will ever love or marry 20 times a day, because that was the frequency, I'm not exaggerating, is hurting me. She doesn't really know, right? It's because I did not communicate it. I wonder if the people who say that advice live in some privileged paradise where their biggest problem is simple miscommunication, or if they just get off making fun of me. I ask that myself a lot. If anyone has an answer, please write it in the comments. Like, do you really think that the reason you have so many problems with a narcissist is because you didn't communicate that they're cheating, lying, stealing, whatever they do is hurting you? They know it's hurting you. That's why they're doing it, because it works. It hurts you and they get narcissistic supply off of that, especially if they are malignant. So these platitudes didn't work either. After that, after I left home, I started paying out of my own pocket, abusing myself with digital sex work to go to a proper psychiatrist, because enough was enough, and I realized that my family is pretty much a mental institution for abusers where I'm expected to do charity work, so I have to ask professionals. Like, it's not going to be solved on its own. So in psychiatry, I learned that a lot of people live in a constant state of distraction, dissociation, and trauma. And they don't want to deal with their own trauma, and there is nothing you can do about it. They have to come to ask for help on their own. So that included my father too, who also had an extremely traumatic childhood and many traumatic events that happened. And the psychiatrist advised me that I have to go no contact or extremely no contact, that I have to divorce my parents financially, emotionally, practically, basically to make them irrelevant. And if I have to have any interaction with them, for whatever reason, it has to be as an independent adult towards another independent adult who is on a very strict information diet, aka, that's so fancy, that's so nice way to say, you're going to live like you're on a witness protection program, living a total double life, lying, not giving any information to anyone, and looking behind your shoulder, because the more money you make, the more all of these gambling junkies are going to come to harass you and take it. Or the fatter, the older, and the uglier they get, the more they are going to come after you, because they need to take out their pent-up rage on someone, and in their mind, you are always an easy target. Okay, I would say if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. Nothing I can do about it. But here's the problem. Have you ever checked how much money you really need to go that damn no contact? Especially, like, I didn't have kids, I only had a few pets, I had myself. I didn't have a myriad of health problems back then, but still, it's extremely difficult, especially if you're like young and you don't have the ton of work experience. And that was before the housing crisis. That was before the, virus that demonetizes channels crisis. People say, why didn't you just leave? Just go to a shelter. I'm going to say this on every video because I'm very angry. Shelters keep you for a few months, then you have to go. Shelters are full of junkies, rapists, thieves, and other disordered people, and they're not safe as people think, most of them. Shelters will not prevent the abuser from coming them and harass them, and if you say, oh my God, Persephone, I'm tired of your ranting, just get a restraining order against her. What is she going to do? There is a book called The Gift of Fear. I'm going to be recommending stuff as we go on the video, that if you have to read one book before you die, I recommend this book, because it really changed my entire philosophy when it comes to restraining orders and similar, like very popular advice when you're being stalked and abused. Because my mother is still a major stalker. Like I said, in this video and in this channel, I'm going to be totally unhinged. I don't care. I'm going to say what happened to everyone in the world, because I'm done protecting these people. Like, I got the second chance in life and I have to live as a decent person as much as I can. So long story short, in that book it says that the chances of you getting murdered after you obtain the restraining order skyrockets. So the guy, who I think is a former, I don't know if he's an FBI agent, but he's some kind of specialist on dealing with this type of case, he says that the narcissist or the other person, the disordered person who is stalking you and abusing you, perceives the order as a massive narcissistic injury. It's like announcing to the world, this person is a crazy piece of shit, they are after me, I'm right, the police said that I'm right, and they can never come after me again. I don't know if you have any experience with narcissists. Their specialty is violating boundaries. So they're not going to see this as the same way you and me would see it. Like, for me, I would say, oh my God, someone has a restraining order against me, and if I violate it, I'm going to go to prison for this stupid reason. I don't care about them. I'm not going to do anything from now on, because no one is worth me going to prison. But a narcissist is going to say, how dare you? I'm going to show you who's the boss here. How dare you humiliate me? This is going to be on my record forever that I had someone request a restraining order and getting it. So in many cases, the victim was murdered soon after obtaining the restraining order. So I'm only going to share this because I want to say that if I can say something that potentially can help someone, is listen to your intuition. Like if you did something and it did not work, then it's okay to stop doing it. At some point I said I'm not going to communicate with people who are toxic anymore. I give people one chance. If I see that there are this category of people who are lying to themselves, who are overly religious, who live in trauma or in dissociation, I don't need to talk to them again. I don't need validation from them. I don't need help from them. I believe that we need to start collectively promoting self-reliance again. It's good if you get help from other people. If someone helps me, I always say thanks and I try to help back. But if someone doesn't help me, I'm good on my own. Like, I appreciate the help, but I don't rely on it. I think society cultivates this dependent personality disorder, honestly, that, oh, you need to ask for help for every, like, small ailment, especially psychological. Have you seen a therapist? Have you seen a marriage counselor? It's like people have become incapable of thinking and you need a third party to mediate to solve every problem. You don't. Try on your own first, I would say, and if that doesn't work, then that's fine. It's totally okay to ask for help. And the other thing is, yeah, I do think that most people do suck. We're talking about an epidemic of loneliness. Is it really? Because as far back as I can remember, people were always awful, most of them. I have met good people. I have met some great people. When I was sick, there was a medication that I couldn't take that my insurance didn't cover, and it was like we couldn't find it anywhere. And there were some pharmacists and some people who really on their own contacted like drugstores, even outside the country, and they found the medication and they sent it to me that contributed to saving my life without extra charge. Like, I can't say that good people don't exist, and I was a stranger. I've seen people volunteering to help animals. When I do cat fostering, there are so many people who actually have tried way more than me and way longer, and they have helped so many animals. I've seen people doing charity. Like, I knew a guy who was going to a hospital where he was working. He wasn't an obstetrician, but he was helping the only obstetrician there deliver babies from women who are runaways, teen mothers, and they have no health insurance. So yeah, good people exist, but they're not the majority. The majority are like awful, self-centered people who just, they are on Twitter all day talking about like the news or other nonsense, or playing video games, or like making themselves zombies with psychiatric drugs and like mind-altering substances and other stuff. And they think they are so cool. Especially one of my former friends that I'm going to make a video about her because I consider her one of the worst people I've ever met. And if you know me, this is very difficult to say it. She doesn't work. Her family have a lot of money. They have 2 properties. And she considers herself one of the most unlucky people on the planet. And she's wishing death to humanity collectively. She's a proud extinctionist. If I knew this person is like that, I wouldn't even have said hi to them. So unfortunately, the majority of people are like that. And that's not your fault or my fault. We can't do anything about it. I hope if one of the people who are lost and they just live in dissociation and finds this video, they can get some help from it. They can try to think, who are they? Where is their life going? But until then, I think it's time to start prioritizing what our eyes see and what our minds perceive. Because I got so much gaslighting, and even now when I say most people are awful, I'm so sure there are going to be people who are going to watch the video and write their immediate gaslight comment under my video and say, oh no, it's normal to think that when you are down. I'm not down at all. I'm actually one of the happiest times in one of my happiest times in my life, because I feel grateful every day. I don't have to live in the hospital anymore. I don't have to be sexually harassed anymore. I don't have to live with awful people anymore. I have a lot to be grateful for. But reality remains. That was mainly my own resilience and my own research and science. It wasn't the people around me. It wasn't society. If the plan worked, I should have stayed alone, dysfunctional, zombie with psychiatric drugs with my mother to help her cope, to help her abuse me and feel better until one of us dies. Because I'm going to leave this as a cliffhanger. After I left home, my mother needed someone to abuse, and I'm an only child, and she didn't have anyone. So because she was a boss at a very demanding, very well-paying job, she abused over 20 employees in various ways. If you're familiar with the book Snakes in Suit, she's the snake in that suit. She's a narcissist in the workplace. And these people ganged up to sue her. So that's an episode for a different story, but I'm only going to say this for the Christians who are going to say to me, you need Jesus again. When I was a minor, I wanted to go to the police and report her for what she did, basically trying to murder me more than once. Everyone and their dog, who is a Christian, ganged up against me, and they said that the right thing is to forgive. Did she say sorry? No. Did she repent? No. But you have to forgive. Because she wasn't punished back then, 15 other people were abused. Some of these people had very bad things happening to them. So before you force forgiveness on others and religion on others, ask yourself if just letting her go with everything she did was the right thing to do. Thank you for watching.